Okay, Mac. Are you ready for the poop monster?
You prepared me for that earlier. I'm ready. I'm seated.
Okay.
And,
I'm not sure. Hopefully, this will be the right
wow,
link here.
This sounds scary.
Unknown life form in North Carolina sewer. Yeah, this is the sewer monster story, folks. I had to go there. We already covered rape and sodomy. I mean, my God, where are we going next? So over at anomaliemagazine.com, my good friend Jeremy Wells has covered the seeming recent proliferation of two different stories about this subject, one a year ago in Denver and this one in a North Carolina sewer. Okay, this is the one with just the pictures. You watch those pictures, Mac.
Oh my God.
Isn't that disgusting?
That's horrible.
Look, it's moving.
Oh,
no. It's like a heart.
No.
Almost.
No. This is burning a hole in my brain.
Yeah, it's the creepiest footage, folks. I mean, most of you have bound to have seen this by now. It's become quite the internet meme. But basically, in a private sewer in North Carolina, under the streets of Cameron Village, they videotaped something with their little remote camera robot that appears to be several, dare we say, colonies of critters.
Sentient feces. Is that what we're talking about here?
It's pretty horrendous and gross. Like, it spooked me out.
I thought it was very gross looking. Yes, definitely.
Well, I just think it's disgusting that something like that is living underneath the ground here in Cameron Village. It just kind of makes me creep out.
Unless you've been living under a rock, or in this case a sewer, then you've probably heard or seen video about this sewer monster. No one has confirmed exactly what this is a colony of, but North Carolina State University biology professor Tom McQuack has some speculation.
I think that it's a colony of bryozoans. They're small animals like a hydra that live together in colonies, and they stick out tentacles to feed, and when they're disturbed they withdraw into small tubes that they build.
But another hypothesis is that it's a colony of tubifex, or sewer worms, and other environmentalists agree.
Something we rarely see in the sewers, but they have been noted before in other sewer systems, so not necessarily a complete unusual occurrence.
Of course, it's difficult to identify without testing. This fist-sized colony was discovered under the Cameron Village sewer in Raleigh after a private company was routinely inspecting the system. Tubifex worms can be found in wet and polluted environments, but they don't cause any harm.
They don't carry diseases, they're not dirty, they don't bite, and they don't sting. So there's really no reason to clear them out of there unless they become an issue of clogging the sewer pipe.
And while the city doesn't believe that is the case, biologists do want to solve it.
The people that have described it as disgusting could be accurate, but we at the university find it interesting.
Well, we find it interesting.
What are you people in North Carolina eating? At least I hope it's confined to North Carolina.
Nope.
I'm afraid to go to the toilet now because
okay.
if these things start moving around too much, they could eventually, crawl up through a toilet and then develop legs. And you know how the image of the evolving man, then things could get really stinky around here.
Really creepy crawly.
Yeah, that doesn't look like a worm. That looks like a living piece of sentient feces.
It's a bunch of these different worms that are clumped together. If you can imagine, like if you've ever seen fire ants clumped together in a writhing mass, imagine when worms do that, like earthworms or something. If they were to try to socially come together. But Jeremy Wells over at Anomaly Magazine wrote a little thing about this on July 3rd, I guess, or 2nd. And one of the things he says is the only problem is there are at least two different stations from two different cities in two very different parts of the country, both identifying the creatures as something found beneath their streets and both offering different explanations of just what the blob is. TV News 14 out of Raleigh, North Carolina, the one you were just hearing, is identifying the blob as a colony of tubifex worms found in a private sewer system by the Raleigh Public Utilities Department. But Fox 31 out of Denver, Colorado, went with the bryozoan explanation when they reported a similar story in January of last year and quoted a water system worker who claimed this particular colony was actually residing in the Crestview water system in a pipe near the intersection.
They don't know what these things are. I mean, we don't know what we're dealing with here, folks.
It's freaky, dude. I tell you. I mean, I can imagine it just being a bunch of worms, and it just gives the impression of one sentient little creature moving like one muscular mass.
Well,
but
we may find out different
spooky.
as the story develops.
Woman killed in Denver bathroom.
Yeah. Wow. Well, what will we do if we can't safely go to the bathroom?
It's like some Cthulhuan horror coming out of your toilet.
It reminds me of a news story I read several years ago. You know how pet pythons get loose. And I'll tell it later, I guess.
Right. We'll be right back, folks.
Yeah.
Alrighty, folks. Welcome back.
Okay, so I was going to just tell this very quick story. This guy living in an apartment complex in Houston gets up in the middle of the night and to go to the bathroom, and he goes to the toilet and he flips open the lid, and there is a python in his toilet bowl, which had escaped from some other unit in the apartment. Well, he was found later, this man who made this discovery, found by police about 30 minutes later, standing out in the middle of the street screaming. And you can imagine that would be a terrible way to wake up. And I can see me, running out the door screaming. But wow, if something like I just saw in that video you showed me, this poop monster thing, if I were to see that in my toilet, first thing I would think was, my God, did I do that? And I, have I given birth to a monster? But this next thing would be just to get out of there.
Screaming all the while.
And it would be the blob all over again, but much worse and much stinkier, I imagine.
I'm guessing that critter is actually much smaller than it appears in the video, because this little, it's probably a very small sewer pipe, and it's probably a very small robot with a very small camera focusing on a very small ball of worms that appears to be much larger than it in fact is.
Well, far they're small, but
expose them to atomic radiation and they'll get 50 foot tall.
And they'll glow as well.
Yeah.
And take down buildings and so forth, and they'll pass laws against going to the bathroom to feed this thing, I guess.
During the commercial, I was showing Mack this video that I linked to over at PsiOpRadio.com. Flying platform, personal UFO.
Oh, yeah.
And he actually said off air, he commented about it being kind of like the new personal Segway,
the next development. And you said that, yes, they're referring to it as the Segway of the Sky.
Segway of the Sky.
It reminded me of this device you used to see in the Dick Tracy comics, the later era of Dick Tracy, when in the 60s, when in the Sunday Funnies, Dick Tracy and the gang were going back and forth, commuting from the Earth to the Moon and back and forth, and they would fly around in these weird little Segway-looking things, Dick Tracy and these cops, on the police force. And so, hey, that could come true.
Yeah, I hope so.
That's just what we need is flying cops.
With these iPhones, it's like we've got, these little Dick Tracy things in our hands.
Your little two-way radio, wristwatch radio, whatever they used to call it.
This audio I'm playing in the background is a bit from, it's a recreation of what might have happened back, way back. We talked about this in a video the audio I played from a Metallica video. This is a reconstruction of what might have been heard in the morning of June 30th, 1908, when that mysterious Tunguska blast occurred. Flash? Fire? Planetology Group and the University Radio at ELTE University produced this little track that a friend sent us, one of our listeners, Sweet Jack. Actually posted it to a forum that I frequent. There's been some new investigations into the Tunguska blast.
Yeah.
Ooh, there goes.
I felt that one.
The blast heard around the world. There's been some new research that suggests that they found the impact site and maybe even a piece of what it was that may have caused that huge explosion and shock wave that was heard around the world.
And what might it have been?
Probably some meteorite, space debris of some sort.